Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of my podcast. Today's podcast is entitled, It's Not About the Destination. And as usual, I will begin this podcast with a quote. Sometimes it's a journey that teaches you a lot about your destination. And that's a quote by Drake. First off, I'm going to apologize. Yeah, today is Saturday. I usually release my podcast on Monday and Friday. A lot of things have lined up against me. Excuse me. A lot of things have lined up against me. But regardless, we're still going to find a way to win. We're going to fight through it. So apologies. I know it's a little bit late. I feel bad I didn't stick to my schedule, but hey, sometimes stuff happens. So we're just going to adapt and overcome. So this podcast is about the journey. The journey that we take in life, to the travels that we have, the rough patches that we go through and stuff like that. And I felt like this would be an appropriate episode or appropriate podcast because, in my young life, my few years on this earth, I have experience and it has taught me a lot, especially doing this podcast, like about what, you know, certain aspects of life. And I just want to share that with you guys, like I say always with my podcast. One of the things that I've learned is that it's not so much about the destination, but the journey, about how we get there, the things that we go through, that we experience. There's a lot to learn within the journey in and of itself. Like, all of us want to be successful, we want to be happy, we want to achieve the life of our dreams. But we get so focused on getting to the destination that we don't appreciate the journey and what we're going through. So we need to realize, to be present, and realize, that there's a lesson to be learned in the journey. And that journey is not going to always go the way that we envision it. It may largely go the way that we envision it, but there's definitely going to be, pitfalls and hardships that we face that we didn't account for. The journey of life will have a lot of twists and turns. It is going to be like a roller coaster. And I'm sure that everybody listening to this podcast already knows. And if you don't, if you're in my younger audience, it's coming. You like to think, or from the outside looking in, it appears that, life is a roller coaster going up and down and up and down. But I mean, life goes forwards, backwards, up and down. Sometimes you sidestep and get sidetracked off your goals. Then you got to find your way back to your goals after some years. So, I mean, there's no like one direction life moves. Life just generally fluctuates, sometimes unpredictably. And we just got to be able to adapt and overcome to that reality, because it is a reality. And the only way that we can prepare for it is to acknowledge it, because to act like that's not a factor in life doesn't do us any justice, because we can pretend like it doesn't exist or it's not going to happen, but it's going to happen. I mean, it's a fact of life. It's going to happen. Oftentimes we imagine our success as a straight line, but in reality, the path resembles a roller coaster. Again, it's much more than a roller coaster. I don't even know what the accurate formation or path that life takes. In my own life, I've taken a lot of steps forward. I felt like I've taken like 100, 200 steps forward, and then I've taken like 1,000 steps back. And maybe other people will look at my life and say something different. That's just how I feel. I feel like I should be much further in life, and that may be true, and that may not be true. I may be exactly where I'm supposed to be, but it's all a matter of perspective, and looking at where you're at, comparing it to where you were, and comparing that also to your goal, and are the actions you're taking on a daily basis moving you closer or further away from your goals. So if it's moving you closer to your goals, then that action would largely be productive. But sometimes you just have to hold what you got. You're not moving forwards or backwards in life. You're just at a place in your life where you just gotta hold what you got, and it is what it is. But there's a lot to be learned in those times. There's a lot of self-development that can happen in those periods of time. Oftentimes we become so focused on our goals that we forget to have fun during the process. The process is fun. I mean, a lot of people look at that stuff and the struggles and the hardships and things not optimally going their way, and they get down on themselves, or they get their feelings hurt or whatever. And I'm not being successful. I'm not moving towards my goal. Every day you're moving towards your goal. Like, as long as you're taking steps that are beneficial to you and your goal in the long run. Um, Recently, I have undergone something that I feel a lot of people that are in my age range, maybe a little bit older, have undergone. When I was younger, I could eat whatever I want, I could do whatever I want, and my body largely didn't react adversely. Now that I'm older, if I eat certain foods or whatever, it sits on me. I just hold weight now. I had trouble gaining weight, now I hold weight. So I went on this journey in preparation for my tryout, and it basically started in January, and it's been to now. And I used to see when I was younger a lot of people doing before and after pictures of their physical changes, and I was like, man, that must feel good. I never really needed to do anything like that because I was always active. I was always working out. I was in the military and stuff like that. But um, in these past years, I've been um, working out less than I need to, and my diet hasn't been the best that it needs to be. So because of that, I have put on weight in areas that I don't want to, um, meaning my belly, and my abs have disappeared. I've gotten a little bit, further away from the physical fitness that I envision myself to be at. The example that I want to set. So in January, I started working out. COVID happened, and this was the prime example of just dealing the cards that life has dealt you. Because COVID happened, I couldn't go to the gym, and I was like, man, I still got to get ready. So what can I do? And we have the world around us. A lot of people go to the gym, they get focused in the gym, like, oh, this is the only way to do something, or this is how I've always done it, so I don't want to change. But there's a lot of other ways that we can achieve our goal. So instead of just, focusing on the gym, which I have been focusing on for so many years, I changed up my workout routine to like calisthenics and like full body workouts and circuits and stuff like that. I bought a brute force sandbag. I got a 50-pound kettlebell, a heavy jump rope, an ab wheel, and I've been killing it. I've been crushing it every day practically, and except for Sundays. I take Sundays off, but every day. And I was fortunate enough to be able to take one of those before and after pictures, and I was really happy with my results. Not that I'm to the point that I want to be at, because I always envision more for myself, but it's definitely progress from where I was at. The dad bod is real. Once you have kids, the battle begins. But that's just an example about how life kind of, I won't say that was unexpected, because I definitely can identify the behaviors and actions that led to that. But it was just life. Work gets in the way sometimes. The responsibilities that you have to your family, those things prohibit you from living the lifestyle you used to live, like working out at 5 o'clock in the morning or staying out late to work out. So I mean, you just got to realize where you are in life and adjust accordingly. We need to fall in love with the process. Coal undergoes intense pressure for many years before it becomes diamonds. The process is growth. Growth is change. And people hate change. People love to be comfortable. People love to be in a place or in a spot that feels good. They know they're protected. They don't have to worry about anything, and it's familiar. But we need to grow. We need to change. And while we're doing that, even though we know that it may be painful, it has the potential to be painful, it has the potential to be unpleasant, we need to be present in the process and take the process for what it's worth. Because if we're just going through the process but we're not learning nothing, then we may not get the information that process or that lesson was trying to teach us, and then we might have to retake that lesson again. Just like in school, if you fail a test or a quiz or what have you, then you're gonna have to take that again until you pass it. Sometimes you just fail and then you gotta move on. But in life, oftentimes what I have found is that you retake lessons until you pass them. So while you're in the process of going through these lessons and going through this growth, we need to step back, take time and learn, so that when the test comes up again, we can readily identify it and we won't fall prey to the trap. We'll just say, oh, I've done this already. I've been through this. This is what I need to do. And then you're over it. Boom. You don't got to worry about that hurdle, that wall no more. And we really need to enjoy the process and study the process, because the problem might come to us simpler the first time and then more complex the second time, but it's still the same problem. So you might just have to take one extra step or do one extra thing in order to jump that hurdle. So again, just being aware of your surroundings and in love with the process. A few years ago, I think it was either last year or the year before last, I went to a gym called AWOL, and there is a trainer there named Lynch. Lynch is an awesome guy. He's a motivational speaker and he lifts weights. So imagine like Eric Thomas but lifting weights. And he's good at what he does. And when I was at that gym, it was awesome. Again, life got in the way and I wasn't able to attend regularly. But while I was there at one of his motivational sessions, he said a quote, and this quote really resonated with me. And I feel like it resonated with everybody there, but it was a powerful quote. And it was a quote by Sandra King. And the quote goes, "The tiny seed knows that in order to grow, it needs to be dropped in the dirt, covered in darkness, and struggle to reach the light." That it's saying I don't know if seeds do or do not have consciousness. That's another debate for another time. But this is like a metaphor or a simile for life. You know, the seed goes into the ground and it has to be covered by dirt in order for it to grow and to reach the light. You know, it's just like us. I mean, that's what I was talking about, being cognizant or aware of, you know, your situation. You know, life isn't always pretty. And sometimes you're going to have to, you know, be covered by dirt, or, you know, be in the mud, or, you know, be in a place that's less appealing than what you would like to be in, that's less comfortable than what you would like to be in. But this is growth. You know, growth isn't always pretty, you know, but we have to grow, because if we don't grow, are we alive? You know, and I'm not saying like physically only, because once you reach a certain age, you stop growing and you've reached full maturity. But like mentally, spiritually, you know, if we're not growing or striving, you know, are we really alive? If we just wake up and do the same thing every day, in and out, you know, wake up just in time enough to go to work, work for somebody else instead of achieving your dreams, and then you come home, watch a little TV, eat, interact with the family for like an hour or two, and go to sleep. That doesn't sound like an ideal existence to me. You know, wake up a little bit earlier, read a book, learn something you didn't know the previous day, interact with your family, go to work, do what you got to do. You know, come home, don't watch TV, chill with your family, enjoy the time you have with your family, because you never know which day is going to be your last. And then maybe stay up a little bit later and try to get something done for you, your business, for somebody else, something like that. Like try to live life. You don't just want to, you know, be in life for somebody else, because that lifestyle I mentioned before, that's not serving you any. If you have dreams and goals, all they're going to be are dreams and goals. Unless you put action or footsteps to those dreams and goals, then you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to be stagnant, and it's not going to be anybody else's fault but yours, because you have the pen to your story. Nobody else has it. Being honest with ourselves can make the journey easier to bear. No, it won't be easy, but it will be worth it. Again, this goes back to the quote. There, I am promising you that life will not be all sunshine and rainbows. There will be hardships. There will be pitfalls. People in your life will pass away. You won't always get that job, even though you're qualified or overqualified. You know, you might do worse than you expected. People might not always like you, and you might not get selected for that thing you tried out for. Like, it's gonna happen. You can't please everybody. Everybody's not gonna like you. Life isn't always going to go your way. And as good of a person as you are, that you try to be, it's still a fact that remains consistent. You know, that used to be my thing. Like, I've always felt like I was a good guy. Like, I didn't do things to other people to hurt them or harm them. But, sometimes bad things will happen to me. And I used to be like, why me? I'm a good guy. Why does bad things happen to good people? Good people finish last and stuff like that. I mean, just because you're a good guy doesn't mean that excludes you from, life. Life happens. It just is what it is. And there's nothing we can do about it except acknowledge that that's a part of life. So when we get to those moments in time, we don't have woe is me moments. We have moments where we focus on the fact that we need to get up and get it and that we need to be about it. Again, this is important. This is the importance of your why. When you're in the mud, when you're in the hardships, when you're in the droughts, when you're feeling defeated, you need to have that why. That why is going to pull you through. That why is that focus. When you're going through the process of life, when you're going through the journey and you're in the middle of the desert and all you got is your compass and your map, and you know that if you follow this compass reading based on what you read on your map, you're going to get to where you're going. It's not going to matter how bad it is in a desert, because you know that every step you take is a step you take closer to your destination. This is the importance of your why. Even if things aren't going your way, even if you're going to college and this is your freshman year and you still got 3 more long years to go, or so many credit hours to go, and then a follow-on school like medical school or law school, every day you attend classes, every step you take to attend classes, you're getting closer to your destination. So don't get weary in well doing. It's gonna happen. Like I said, it's gonna happen. Life is hard. Life isn't easy, but it's gonna be worth it. Don't get weary in well doing. Focus on what you got to do. Keep your head down and just keep going forward. A great book that I really feel captures this whole podcast or this whole message is The Alchemist, which is written by Paulo Coelho. I tried to look up how to pronounce his name. I probably still butchered it, but it's Paulo Coelho. If you look up The Alchemist, it's a very popular book. And when I read this book, it was recommended to me by somebody else. And when I opened it or I started reading it, it started off as what I thought it would be, but the way it ended was largely not what I expected. This book is so powerful and so deep, and I mean, you can pull so much away from this book. Like, it's unreal how awesome this book is. I'm gonna read it again. I just haven't got around to it, but I'm definitely gonna read it again because there's so many powerful messages that you could pull away from this book. Basically, the overview of the book is this guy had a journey he was making in his life based on something he wanted to attain. But as he takes the journey through life, he obtains that, but in a different way. And he realizes that what he was searching for in his life or throughout his life was the experience that he had throughout the journey, instead of reaching a destination or obtaining something physically itself. And I'm speaking in large, general, sweeping terms because I want you to read the book. The book is awesome. You can go to Spark Notes or Cliff Notes, or you can go somewhere to get like a summary of the book. But I feel like that's kind of cheating. You need to read the book. The book is awesome. I would highly recommend it for anybody's self-development collection. Probably top 5, top 10. One of the books you definitely need to have. And speaking further to the point that there's so many different things that you can pull out of this book. There were 6 things that I was able to readily identify in this book that were, lessons or points that stand out that kind of vibe with this podcast. Number 1 was follow your heart's desires. Do what you want to do. Do what makes you happy. Don't wake up and go to work for somebody else and your job is not making you happy. You're just doing it because it pays well, or you're just doing it because it's what your parents expected of you. Do what makes you happy. Know that you will fail. Failure is a part of life. In order to get to success, you're gonna have to fail. You know, there's 100,000s of different inventors that have quotes out there that they talk about how many times it took them to invent the light bulb or this invention or that invention. Failure is a part of the process. You are gonna fail, but every time you fail, that failure may drive you closer to achieving your goal, or closer to helping you identify that maybe there's a different way to go about this goal. So again, people look at failure as a bad thing. You got to look at failure as a good thing. Hey, I failed this time. I know a better way to do it next time I go around. Or hey, I failed this time. Let me get back up on the horse, start all over again. Don't look at failure as a bad thing. Failure is going to happen. Failure is going to come. It's a part of life. It's realistic. Everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. Nothing happens by chance. So be aware of your surroundings. Look for the deeper meaning in things. Look for the messages behind things. Look over, under, and around things. Like, don't just look at things from one perspective. Like, everything happens for a reason. What is the reasoning for this happening? And sometimes you won't understand it till you're much older, and sometimes it won't be for you to understand at all. But everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. Fear is the biggest obstacle. There is nothing to fear but fear itself. Nothing to fear but fear itself. Fear is going to tell you what you can, what you can't do, what you shouldn't do, what other people will think of you, why it's wrong for you to do it, why you shouldn't do it, why it's selfish of you. It's lies. It's lies. That's what it is. Fear is false evidence appearing real. So if you choose to let that fear have a place in your life, you're choosing to let obstacles that are largely imaginary exist in your life amongst all the other obstacles that life is already going to throw at you. So why give fear a place in your life? False evidence appearing real. Write that down. Number 5, find the extraordinary in the ordinary. Look at the deeper meanings to things. Look in, over, around, under situations that you go through. There is a lesson in everything that you do. Like, nothing happens by chance. You're here on this earth for a reason. You were given the gift of life for a reason. You have a gift and you have a purpose on this earth. Life was not meant to be mundane, to just get up and do this and go to sleep and then get up and do that same thing over and over. Find something extraordinary in ordinary life, something that you can do that would bring happiness to yourself, your family, to others. Like, don't just be a machine and a robot waiting to die, waiting for your battery to expire. Find something that's worthwhile to live for. And lastly is the ripple effect. When you strive to be the best version of yourself, everything around you becomes better too. It's a domino effect. So when you take strides to read, every morning, you learn more information, and then learning that information, hey, a year, 5 years, 10 years down the road, you'll face a trial, and then you'll be like, I dealt with that easier than I thought I would. Well, it's because you've been reading books, and the investment that you've made over time is powerful. The power of compounding is very powerful. So even though you didn't see that hardship now it's easy because it's in your life, but it's already had the place to where, it's taking a place in your life where it's coming later on, but you've already made the investment. So now you're more capable of handling the tool. You have built up your toolbox, and now you have the appropriate tools to deal with the problem. I was a little bit tongue-tied. I was a little bit distracted, as you saw behind me, for those of you watching the video on YouTube. But it's all good. Enjoy the journey, man. Life isn't going to move in straight lines. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be difficult, but it's definitely going to be worth it. It's definitely going to be worth it. Because whether you know it or not, there are people counting on you and people watching you and hoping that you succeed. And your success is going to give them motivation in the end.